What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, joined by my best friend, Ron Taylor. Ron, tell everybody what's up.
Hey, what's good?
So there's a number of things that have been going on in college football, among them things going on. I kind of want to start with the news coming out of like Ohio State and what they're up against, because now it's gotten a little bit more complicated with some news that broke today. So Ohio State had to have its game canceled against Illinois, but didn't have to have its game canceled against Illinois. They decided to cancel their game against Illinois because they had enough players to play, but the rate of cases that it spiked among the Ohio State program was enough for Gene Smith and president at Ohio State to say, hey, look, Ryan, we don't think y'all should play because there's a chance that if y'all get on this plane, that this virus is going to spread. And by the time y'all get back, you're going to have to cancel Michigan State and Michigan. So how about we just cancel the one game so we don't have to cancel the two games? To which, Ohio State stands are pissed, not the least of which, are a few that I know personally. Ryan Day also tested positive for the virus. So this will be interesting to see whether or not he's allowed to even coach at Michigan State this Saturday. If not, Larry Johnson will likely assume the interim head coaching role. On top of that, if Ohio State is disqualified from playing in the Big Ten championship game because they have not met the minimum number of games play requirement of 6, Indiana is supposed to assume that spot as the representative of the Big Ten East in the Big Ten championship game, ostensibly against Northwestern, in a game that would lack all sorts of credibility because the best team in the Big Ten and one of the best teams in college football would not be playing for their Big Ten championship or defending their Big Ten championship. That got further complicated this afternoon when news broke that Michael Penix Jr. had suffered what is being called a season-ending lower leg injury. I don't know if the kids are up on this or not, but we no longer make references to ligaments that might have been torn, because we don't want to hurt kids' draft values and HIPAA and all sorts of other stuff that I think is sort of nonsensical, because college football coaches are the most secretive people in the face of the earth, like just flat out. They'll shoot at planes flying overhead because they think that somebody's trying to get film on them.
So for all intents and purposes, it could just be a really tough Charlie horse.
Yeah, but a season-ending Charlie horse, such as it is.
Very serious.
Right. So Michael Penix Jr. is the best player on Indiana's football team and their starting quarterback. He's actually the dude that got all this started with his stretch across the goal line to beat Penn State in overtime 36-35. So now you're looking at a Big Ten championship game without a marquee player in it and without your marquee football team in it, which is exactly how you draw it up if you're Ohio State, right? No. Or the Big Ten. No. So conversation I've been having on the Twitters is people are pissed at Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren is the Big Ten commissioner. It's been his only year on the job. He's following Jim Delaney in this. He took over in a pandemic. And
I remember earlier that we had some mildly nice things to say about him.
I still got mildly nice things to say about him, but here's my point was, if you're going to be angry and you're going to pick a fight with the 14 presidents and chancellors. Don't pick a fight with the commissioner who works at the leisure of those 14 people. They make decisions. And when they did make these decisions to go with these protocols that are much tighter than any other place in college football, they did it with 2 of their presidents/chancellors who have medical backgrounds, as in doctors and PhDs in epidemiology, saying this is what we're going to do. Tend to trust those people. Also, they make decisions. One of those is the president at the University of Michigan. He was not actually on board with playing football this year. But if we were going to play football this year, he had these criteria he wanted everybody to meet, and they agreed to these things. Kevin Warren's job in this particular instance was to tell you what they told him. So I got people that are saying Kevin Warren handled this wrongly. because he said, we're not going to revisit this decision. And then he sent out a letter that told us absolutely nothing and seemed to even further the discussion about why are you doing this when everybody else is doing this. So I come from the standpoint of he didn't actually owe any of us an explanation, to which they'll be like, he owes the coaches and the players an explanation. Nah, he actually doesn't. The only person that he owes an explanation to is that gang of 14, because they sign his checks and money talks. And the cool thing about money is it only has to talk to the people signing the checks. He doesn't owe anybody an explanation for why they're choosing to do what they're choosing to do. You can either do it or you cannot do it. But the conversation around commissioners is always fraught with me to begin with, right? Because we want to have good commissioners, we want to have bad commissioners. The fact of the matter is, if you're doing your job, you probably are probably are not a well-liked commissioner, because doing your job means doing what your owners and in this case, college football presidents tell you to do. Somehow, Adam Silver gets around this by building consensus, but even I am like, I don't know, man.
They're generally rules lawyers, and there's nothing wrong with being a rules lawyer if you say that the rules lawyer is on my side. But the second that your rules lawyer is like, hey, these are the rules, it's like, hold on, we can change those. It's like, you can't, you signed it. We have to move forward. We can do it. We can change it later after we're done with this period, but we can be mad at him all the time because we're human. We can be mad at anything if we want to.
Right. Like, I say that
America's... want it, don't sign the contract.
America's pastime is not baseball. America's pastime is not football. America's pastime damn sure ain't basketball. America's pastime is suing people because you're angry, because you're mad, right? This is why we actually have all of these treaties that get broken all the time, continue to get broken. We create new laws to benefit our capitalistic system. And you're mad that somebody took advantage of the system or is taking advantage of the system, because Indiana could say, hey, look, we think Ohio State should play in that game, so we're not going to play in it. But guess what Indiana ain't going to do? Turn down nothing but their collar. Because in this trash college football season, Indiana was one of the cool stories going on, and now it's not anymore because Tom Allen lost his starting quarterback, dude from Tampa. Dude that's probably going to get drafted in the first round of the 2022 draft, not because he's a great football player, but because he's a good quarterback, and there's a difference. You know, the reason I say that is like Jordan Love threw more interceptions than anybody else starting games last year for Utah State. He was 32nd overall pick to Green Bay. And that pick is worth its weight in gold now because Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. Like, that's just what he's been doing. So I'm interested to see, one, if Ohio State gets to play this game against Michigan State this weekend. It feels like they're going to try. It feels like they can. And then two, to find out just how deep this conspiracy goes, because there is a conspiracy among Ohio State fans that Michigan will cancel this game next week anyway, just to spite Ohio State.
That is what I've been thinking for 2 weeks. As we approach the end game, or as we approach the end of the season, first I thought about how many players are going to play the entire season and then either opt out or transfer because you got no reason not to.
About to say,
and then as I was looking at Ohio State, I'm thinking they don't like this team, and nobody's making money anyway. So if we can. Trying to keep it PG. If we can be the fly in the ointment, why not? You got no reason not to. And you have the perfect cover. And to be truly honest, it's technically underline the right thing to do.
I would push back on this one point. Nobody needs to win in the game more than Jim Harbaugh. Okay? Like, Ryan Day needs to win. He needs to win because they want to play in the college football playoff. And if they lose a game at all, they're going to get knocked out. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. They can't lose to a Michigan State who's bad, even though they beat Northwestern, who we thought was good, but I think is just, above average this year. Good for Northwestern. Pun intended. They can't lose to Michigan because Michigan is actually bad this year. Like, Penn State was winless before last Saturday, and beat Michigan. And more than that, beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. And with the fourth string tailback as the starter and the fifth string tailback getting double-digit carries. And Penn State had been giving up 36 points per game on average and at least 30 in every game they played. They only scored 27. They win by 10. Which is to say, if Michigan had just hit the average that opponents have against Penn State, they'd probably win the game, 30-27. Full stop. Now you got Jim Harbaugh, who is very much being looked at sideways on a number of different topics, but not the least of which is, yo, man, we brought you here to win championships, not to be mediocre to above average. To which I have this. If Jim Harbaugh wants to be the head coach at Michigan, he needs to beat Ohio State. You can't afford to have that game canceled. Okay?
Absolutely.
But if he doesn't,